Problem 5, identifying a reasonable domain and range. This one regards painting. You have 3 quarts of paint to paint the trim in your house. A quart of paint covers 100 square feet. The function A of Q equals 100 Q represents the area, A of Q, in square feet that Q quarts of paint cover. What domain and range are reasonable for the function? What is the graph of the function? Well, what we know, 1 quart of paint covers 100 square feet, and that we have 3 quarts of paint. What we need are reasonable domain and range values in order to graph the function. So our plan will be to find the least and greatest amounts of paint you can use and areas of trim you can cover. Use these values to make a graph. So the least amount of paint you can use is none. It's possible to use no paint. So the least domain value is 0. You only have 3 quarts of paint, so the most paint you can use is 3 quarts. Basically, our graph doesn't need to go any further than that, because in this situation, it doesn't make sense. Those domain values aren't reasonable. So the domain is 0 is less than or equal to Q, which is less than or equal to 3. And if we peek ahead at the graph at the bottom right, we can see along the x-axis 0, 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't go any farther than that. To find the range value, we'll evaluate the function using those least and greatest domain values. So A of 0, plugging in 0 if we use no paint, 100 times 0 is 0. So that's our least range value. And then our greatest number of quarts was 3, so if we plug 3 in, A of 3 equals 100 times 3, and that's 300. So our range needs to go at least as great as 300. And if we peek ahead at the graph again, it looks like they chose to go to 500. To graph the function, make a table of values. Choose the values of Q that are in the domain. The graph is a line segment that extends from the point 0, 0, representing using no quarts of paint, no paint at all, to the point 3, 300, which represents using 3 quarts of paint and being able to cover 300 square feet. Your turn. You have 7 quarts of paint to paint the trim in your house. A quart of paint covers 100 square feet, and the function A of Q equals 100 Q represents the area, A of Q, in square feet that Q quarts of paint cover. What domain and range are reasonable for the function? And finally, a reasoning item. You have 3 quarts of paint to paint the trim in your house, etc., etc. The question is, why does it not make sense to have domain values less than 0 or greater than 3?